talk a little bit about Epstein. We have some more updates on the media. We talked a lot about that last week as well. What else? Some Democrat updates, New York updates, all that and much more. But first, let's start with the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Hi, Frank. Good morning. Well, hey, good morning. Though this has nothing to do with politics, in fact, it's more of a public service announcement. But mayonnaise can be used to remove water or white spots from furniture. I found this on the web and found it hard to believe, but I tried it and it worked. Just rub a small amount on the spot or spots, let it sit for a good while, wipe it off, and the spot is permanently gone. In view of this, I would assume that any light oil would work as well, i.e., given that mayonnaise is comprised of vegetable or olive oil. Maybe one of your viewers might be able to use this information. I guess I should have added that this is only to be used for removing water stains from wood. Don't use it on clothes or anything else, as I'm sure you'll be very disappointed. Thank you very much. Oh, my music played long. I apologize. Thank you for the heads up there. I appreciate it. I hope you got to hear that whole comment. I forgot to check that. I've been good at that lately, but I forgot, so I apologize. All right. For whatever this is worth, Ellen DeGeneres finally confirmed that Trump influenced her to move to the United Kingdom. The former talk show host detailed her new life across the pond during a conversation with British host Richard Bacon on stage somewhere, Gloucestershire, admitting that she and the Arrested Development alum, her wife, I don't know how you say her name, Portia de Rossi, initially only planned to stay in the UK for a couple months. The pair pulled the trigger on a permanent move in November following Trump's historic win over Harris. Following their transatlantic move, the duo set up a camp in the ritzy Cotswold neighborhood, which is a known favorite among the Hollywood elites. Quote, "We got here the day before the election and woke up to a lot of texts from our friends with crying emojis, and I was like, we got in. And we're like, we're staying here." So Ellen DeGeneres, who came kind of crashing down from her stardom when it was reported that she wasn't as friendly behind the scenes, she has now, with her wife, DeRossi, moved to the United Kingdom because of Trump. Speaking of Trump, did you see his new cause, I guess you could call it, his new issue that he's championing? President Trump publicly demanded that the Washington Commanders change the team name back to the Redskins, labeling them derisively the Washington Whatevers. He also said that the Cleveland Guardians should revert to being the Indians. Both teams had rebranded several years ago due to concerns that their Native American-inspired names were offensive, but Trump argued that the pendulum has since swung back against this political correctness run amok. The Washington Whatevers should immediately change their name back to the Washington Redskins football team. There is a big clamoring for this, he said on Truth Social last night. Likewise, the Cleveland Indians, one of the 6 original baseball teams with a storied past, are great Indian people, and massive numbers want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them. Times are different now than they were 3 or 4 years ago. We are a country of passion and common sense. Owners, get it done. Now, they were suggesting that he may even hold up the stadium if they don't change their name. Trump has attended more major sporting events than most of his predecessors while serving in the White House. Earlier this year, he became the first U.S. president to attend the Super Bowl. Trump has also frequented UFC games, and you heard that there may even be plans in the works to host a UFC fight at the White House. So there you are, President Trump. What are your thoughts? Would you like to see it change back? Senator Bernie Moreno, Republican from Ohio, reacted to this, saying, "Cleveland wants this. Cleveland wants this. Let's go." So there you are. Maybe it'll be the Cleveland Indians again, the Washington Redskins. Time will tell, but that seems to be the issue today for the president. Okay, that was some weird, I don't even know if you could say updates. I didn't expect the Redskins moniker to be a topic on today's program, but that is what Trump is calling for. So, your thoughts on that. The Washington Post put together a piece over the weekend how the Colbert-Trump relationship tracked the downfall of late-night TV. Now, some in Washington and Hollywood are calling for an investigation into why Colbert was dropped. Now, again, he's not dropped until May of next year, but why he was essentially fired from late night and why they're getting rid of the late night format. Donald Trump's September 2015 appearance on CBS's The Late Show with Stephen Colbert started with an apology from the still new host. No one knew it yet, but these two showmen represented opposite poles of a dramatic upheaval about the hit American culture. I said a few things about you over the years that you know in polite company perhaps are unforgivable, Colbert said. Indeed, just 2 weeks later, as a former Comedy Central star debuted in his much-anticipated promotion of David Letterman's old chair at CBS, he whacked the unlikely presidential candidate like a cartoon piñata. He had jabbed at Trump's support for various causes. But on that night, he apologized to Trump. Then he asked, is there anybody you'd like to apologize to yourself? Colbert added. The future president said no at the time. So what they're suggesting is if you look at the relationship of when he actually had Trump on and no longer, of course, having Trump on, and Colbert very political with far left guests. As a matter of fact, I think the episode where they made the announcement, Adam Schiff, for some reason, was his guest. So this piece suggests that you can kind of watch the downfall of late night talk shows in general based on the downfall of Trump and Colbert's relationship. As far as what's next, Colbert still has many shows to produce at CBS before May. Daniel Kellison, another former Letterman producer, doubts he'll make it. I just hope he's going to go all scorched earth now. There's no way he's going to be on the air for 9 months. He's such a smart guy, and it'd be really cool if he did a slow burn. Now, Brian Stetler, supposedly put together kind of a behind the scenes of what happened with this Colbert decision. From the outside, the idea made no sense at all. Why would a broadcast network cancel one of its best known shows that ranks number one in its time slot? But on the inside at CBS, where there were several plausible answers to that question. While the Late Show host, Stephen Colbert, was on his usual midsummer vacation earlier this month, CBS executives weighed the pros and cons of canceling the unique but unfortunately unprofitable show. The cons were obvious, as evidenced by the studio audience's boos when Colbert announced the cancellation. However, the pros ultimately won out because, according to sources close to the network, the Late Show was losing money and there was no apparent path to turning around its financial position. It was an agonizing decision, said one executive in a statement. But CBS insiders insisted, even when speaking frankly on condition of anonymity, that the move was financially driven, not politically motivated, because we know right after it happened, you had Elizabeth Warren, Adam Schiff, others saying the American people deserve to know if this was political. Many observers have huge doubts about that, given that Colbert has been an outspoken critic of President Trump. The Writers Guild of America, which represents writers on The Late Show, said Friday that it's concerned the cancellation was a bribe to curry favor with the Trump administration. The Guild wants the New York State Attorney General to launch an investigation. I'm sure she will. Letitia James probably more than happy to launch an investigation that will get her name out there in the spotlight yet again. While the political uproar continues, here's what the data indicates. The bottom has indeed been falling out of late-night TV business model for several years now. Audience fragmentation and digital competition have led to a decline in ad revenue across the board. One insider described it as cratering at CBS. That's because even though Colbert outrated his competition at 11:35, the overall audience for late night has been shrinking. Ad dollars and audiences are moving away from late-night shows. And that was back all the way in 2023 when they started Variety reporting on it. The financial picture has only gotten gloomier since then. Guideline, an ad data firm, estimates that the network's late-night show earns $439 million in ad revenue in 2018 and only $220 million in 2024. That's a 50% decline. The show's hosted by Colbert and his rivals. You have Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, are inherently expensive to produce with hundreds of staffers and elaborate studio productions. The shows are also awkward fit on streaming platforms since they tend to be topical, limiting the shelf life of the content. Colbert's commentaries and interviews often go viral on social media, but that attention isn't easily converted into cold, hard cash since CBS doesn't control the social platforms. So some are calling it a casualty of the merger, perhaps, that is taking place potentially next year. The merger is CBS parent Paramount's long working deal with Skydance, a media company controlled by David Ellison, son of Oracle billionaire Larry Ellison. The elder Ellison is a longtime friend of Trump and has previously described himself as a Trump supporter, and David Ellison was spotted with the president earlier this year at a UFC match. And you had that with the lawsuit, so that's why there is the idea. But even for Brian Stetler of CNN to say, no, this was not political, this was not some type of bribe, which is a term that's being thrown around, it is 100% a financial decision. Tens of millions in financial losses annually, folks. Colbert said, I am offended, and I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. That was earlier this week in reference to what they're calling a payoff with the 60 Minutes lawsuit. But according to Charles Gasparino, Stephen Colbert's show loses somewhere between $40 million and $50 million a year. That's a lot of money to lose in a year, no matter how high the ratings. But scathing jokes at the expense of CBS brass wasn't the problem, according to insiders. Instead, the network's bosses could no longer stomach the fact that Colbert had been plagued with an increasingly dire shortage of advertisers. That's despite Colbert's #1 ratings in the time slot and his status as a key face for the Tiffany Network. In the end, George Cheeks, Paramount's co-CEO, decided to kill the show. Colbert gets no advertising, and late night is a tough spot. Colbert might be #1, but who watches late night TV anymore? Some Democrats voice suspicion, saying the host's left-wing leanings and CBS owner Paramount's urgent need to gain an okay from the Trump administration for that merger with Skydance. Elizabeth Warren, writing at the time, you might recall this from Friday's show, CBS canceled Colbert's show just 3 days after Colbert called out CBS parent company Paramount for its $16 million settlement with Trump, a deal that looks like bribery. America deserves to know if this show is canceled for political reasons. Now, you may have seen that Trump did weigh in on the cancellation on Truth Social, saying, I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next, has even less talent than Colbert. But somewhere between $40 million and $50 million lost a year on Stephen Colbert's show. Now, we've got some other people weighing in on this when we come back, so stay with us. We're just getting warmed up here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
Going to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you are one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Keith Olbermann, you remember that name? There's a blast from the past. Ex-MSNBC host Keith Olbermann has weighed in on whether Stephen Colbert was canceled for political reasons. Sorry, that's not what happened here. If it had, they wouldn't be keeping him on until next May. That's a very good point. Olbermann authored the post in response to one person suggesting that his firing was a sign that the United States has descended into fascism. We are officially at the pulling comedians off the air who criticize our dear leader's phase of fascism, one user posted. Bernie Sanders posting over the weekend, CBS's billionaire owners pay Trump $16 million to settle a bogus lawsuit while trying to sell the network to Skydance. Stephen Colbert, an extraordinary talent and most popular late night host, slammed the deal. Days later, he's fired. Do I think this is a coincidence? No. Adam Schiff saying the same kind of thing, saying the American people deserve to know if he was fired for political reasons. Now, where is it? David Marcus at Fox News writes that Stephen Colbert's character is the latest never-Trump Republican to fall. If you remember, his roots were that of a kind of a fake Republican. That was originally his kind of shtick. That's how he started, was on the Daily Show with that shtick. The character that was created was a Ron Burgundy-like conservative buffoon, or as Colbert would put it, a well-intentioned, poorly informed, high-status idiot. He would wear that costume for 20 years. In other words, for 2 decades now, Stephen Colbert has been consumed in the role of a pre-Donald Trump, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan-style Republican that in that time has gone from being reviled to fondly remembered by the left. Many of us that are old enough to remember when former President George W. Bush was considered by liberals to be a war criminal who should go directly to jail. But today there's a strange new respect for W in the wake of Trump. What Colbert was really playing was a lovable and gullible loser that the word Republican represented before the orange man went bad. This was a Republican who, in retrospect at least, was greedy, maybe a bit stupid, but not a supposed threat to democracy. This is kind of an interesting take on kind of how history has changed. So though Carson was kidding, or let me take a step back. But the problem for Colbert is the entire basis of his character and frankly career has disintegrated under his feet, as he has so many who made their entire lives about defeating Donald Trump. Colbert's character of a mid-level manager, white guy who wants low taxes and his kids doesn't read books, depicts nobody in reality. It's a figment of elite, urban, progressive fearmongers. It was another famous late-night host, Johnny Carson, who once turned the tables on legendary insult comedian Don Rickles by quipping, "Don is a great comedian. I love his joke." Sadly, though, Carson was kidding. This really is the fate that Colbert suffered. He only had one joke, and that joke isn't funny anymore. So rest in peace to the late night and to never Trump. Two things that time and fortune have passed by under the watchful eye of Donald J. Trump. I thought that was an interesting take on that. Now, Hollywood is demanding an investigation into the late night cancellation, calling it a bribe. Again, to Keith Olbermann's point, you wouldn't let him stand till May of next year if he was being fired for political reasons. The Writers Guild of America has significant concerns that the Late Show cancellation is a bribe, sacrificing free speech to curry favor with the Trump administration. A corporation terminating a show in bad faith due to explicit or implicit political pressure is dangerous and unacceptable in a democratic society. We call on our elected leaders to hold those responsible to account, to demand answers about why this beloved show was canceled, and to assure the public that Colbert and his writers were not censored due to their views or the whims of the president. Their calls join those of Democrats Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Adam Schiff, and others who have expressed concern over the coincidental firing. And also, since how am I doing? We're doing good on time. Oh, Jack writes in. Jack wants to know Rick and Ken's take on the Stephen Colbert show cancellation. There you go, Rick or Ken, if you're watching. Your thoughts on Stephen Colbert's essentially cancellation, even though it's not for almost a full year. It will be interesting to see how he handles this full year. The one man predicting that he would be out before then. He just won't be able to go slow burn. He'll have to go scorched earth. I could see that. But also, 1 year to kind of celebrate or take it all in, if you will. What you believe, I'm sure he does, is a legendary show. But imagine that. It's getting rid of the whole late show format at CBS. All right, we got to take a short break. A little bit more on the media, then we'll move along. A lot more to talk about this morning. Epstein, of course, still the big issue of the day. Your thoughts on that, how that is all unfolding. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
It's time to say, not so fast, chronic kidney disease. Because with a progressive disease like CKD, slow is good. And believe me, I know all about slow. That's why I'm here to tell you about Jardiance. It's a little pill proven to slow the progression of CKD and reduce the risk of kidney failure, which can lead to dialysis.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
So go on, say not so fast, CKD. Ask your doctor about Jardiance for chronic kidney disease.
Confidence isn't given, it's built. One choice, one moment, one step at a time. How you feel is how you play. It starts with a click.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're talking about Stephen Colbert, but I also want to talk about the defunding, if you will, of NPR and PBS. As Tippin Sites reports, NPR and PBS have earned the woke label. Listen to CEO Catherine Mayer's testimony or scroll through her anti-Trump tirades on social media. Want more proof? Ask Yuri Berliner, a 25-year NPR veteran who resigned after exposing the network's deep progressive bias in a viral essay. He even reminded readers how NPR buried the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020 because it could help Trump, later dismissing it as a tabloid distraction, a stunning example of elitist arrogance that shattered public trust. And while they preached equality and diversity, NPR's CEO pockets nearly $600,000 a year, more than the President of the United States, while top hosts rake in over $500,000 each. For a taxpayer-backed outlet, those numbers speak volumes. NPR is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It enjoys the tax-exempt privileges of a 501c3 organization, yet operates as a de facto mouthpiece for the Democrat Party and progressive ideology. Yuri Berliner exposed how deep the imbalance runs. NPR's D.C. editorial newsroom includes 87 registered Democrats and zero Republicans, a staggering disparity that makes viewpoint diversity nothing more than a myth. Think about that, 87 registered Democrats and zero Republicans. You would think just by chance you would have, the odds would just say that by chance that there would be a Republican in the mix. That arrogance has not gone unnoticed by the public. And remember, the CEO saying after the bill passed, the rescission bill, that we don't understand the charges of bias, but we're working to understand them. For example, May 2024 Daily Mail poll showed that voters by a wide margin favored stripping National Public Radio of taxpayer funding due to concerns about political bias. Fully 44% said NPR should lose its government support, while only 26% wanted funding to continue and 31% were unsure. On July 17, 2025, the Senate voted 51-48 to pass a $9 billion rescission package requested by the Trump administration, which includes $1.1 billion in cuts to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, effectively defunding National Public Radio and Public Broadcasting Service, and their affiliated local stations for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. Liberal news outlets, including NBC, NPR, and Variety, expressed shock at the development. The New York Times ran an editorial titled, "This is Why America Needs Public Media," which compared local affiliates to the U.S. Postal Service. The framers, according to the Times, believed that unless the federal government funded the USPS, no one else would deliver mail to the entire country. It's a flimsy argument. NPR and PBS don't need mail carriers to reach rural Americans. They stream through the internet and airwaves. The government already subsidizes internet access in remote areas and affordable mobile plans, some under $30 a month. Put PBS and NPR just a tap away. With these technologies, even the most rural communities can access their content instantly. The vote was close after an intense Senate debate with three Rhino and Trump derangement syndrome senators, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, opposing the bill, citing concerns about the impact on rural and tribal communities. Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote to send the bill back to the House, which had already voted to approve the legislation, although not the exact Senate bill. The House, of course, approved it, and it was put before Trump's desk, ending more than 60 years of taxpayer funding for the liberal NPR and PBS. We want to take a victory lap here. Back on March 28th, our columnist and senior editorial board member, Rajmakal Rao, argued in these pages that NPR and PBS should be defunded, asking a simple question. In a world of endless streaming and podcasting, why are taxpayers still funding a media cocoon for coastal elites? We made that case long before the Senate vote, and now it is reality. And we've been calling for it a long time here, as I know many others have. It is so far left, it is so biased, it's your tax dollars. Should in no way, shape, or form be used to fund it. But of course, throughout history, there's a reason why that stereotype is there. The hippies listen to NPR and PBS because it's the case. It's far left bias proved too much. They lost all credibility. I've known about it for a long time working in media, of course, the bias, but I recall losing coverage in a certain area, and it was during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and I wanted to continue to listen, and I went over to NPR, and it was as biased as you can imagine. It was fascinating to listen to how they would twist themselves up into a pretzel to push that liberal agenda. Now, speaking of media bias, pandemonium broke out on a CNN panel Thursday night after one guest implied that President Trump wasn't shot at the Butler campaign rally just over a year ago. Yep, that's what CNN's turned into. During a panel discussion about the White House's transparency on Trump's health, leftist podcast host Tori suggested that Trump wasn't shot in the ear on camera in front of a large crowd in Pennsylvania by a would-be assassin last year. That's when the panel went into chaos. He supposedly got shot in the ear, said Tori. We never heard from his doctor about that, Tori said. And now Scott Jennings wasn't taking it. Whoa. He threw up his hands. Did you say supposedly? As Jennings sought the moderator, Tori raised his voice and continued to press the point, saying, when did we hear from his doctors? When did we hear from his doctors? Wow. Pushing Tori at CNN pushing a conspiracy theory that Trump wasn't actually shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. Wow. Tory, he was shot in the ear. But Tory wasn't satisfied. But can we hear from the doctors? We would always hear from the doctors when he gets shot. I mean, all I know is I went to the Republican National Convention and he had a bandage on his ear, said Jennings. As the pundit spoke, Tory kept interjecting, that would be a no, that would be a no, that would be a no. And the media wonders why they've lost all credibility. Pushing out a conspiracy theory as if Trump wasn't shot at that Butler rally. Oh, did you happen, this one's getting buried because the media wants to continue to push the Epstein quote-unquote scandal because they see this as a scenario that's in their mind, and I've got a really good piece about this later on by Miranda Devine, but they believe it's drawing MAGA people away from Trump, that Trump is becoming an issue, if you will, becoming almost MAGA's target now, which I think is nonsense, but we'll talk about that. But one of the things that got glanced over, which is a major story, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard detailed striking finding from declassified documents released Friday, claiming to showcase overwhelming evidence that an Obama-era cabal laid the groundwork for what would be the years-long Trump-Russia collusion probe after the 2016 election. The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic, she said. Over 100 documents that were released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office after President Trump had already got elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. Documents shared by Gabbard's office claim that before the 2016 election, there was no evidence showing Russia tried to directly alter vote counts. However, members of the intelligence community later suggested that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help Trump win. Gabbard argues that the narrative shift was politically motivated rather than based on new findings. Quote, creating this piece of manufactured intelligence that claims that Russia had helped Donald Trump get elected contradicted every other assessment that had been made previously in the months leading up to the election that said exactly the opposite, that Russia had neither the intent nor the capability to try to hack the United States election. So the effect of what President Obama and his senior national security team did was subvert the will of the American people, undermining our democratic republic and enacting what would be essentially a years-long coup against President Trump, who was duly elected by the American people. Evidence released by Gabbard's office implicated then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, former FBI Director James Comey, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, among others, in addition to the former president. Gabbard confirmed her intent to send all the uncovered documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI for a criminal referral. When asked if she expected to see prosecution, she vowed to do all that she can to ensure accountability. We have whistleblowers actually coming forward now after we release these documents because there are people who were around, who were working within the intelligence community at the time, who were so disgusted by what happened. We're starting to see some of them come out of the woodwork here because they want to see justice delivered. There must be indictments. Those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable. Now, some Democrats, including Representative Jim Haynes of Connecticut, who is a top member of the party on the House Intelligence Committee, have criticized Gabbard's claims as baseless. So breaking kind of over the weekend, that it was a treasonous conspiracy, according to Tulsi Gabbard, directed by Obama against Trump, calling them nothing short of historic. Those over 100 documents are released on Friday. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. I see some comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hey, this is John with John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
My severe Crohn's symptoms kept me out of the picture. With Skyrizi, feel symptom relief at 4 weeks. Many people were in remission at 12 weeks, at 1 year, and even at 3 years.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Skyrizi.
Get for the 183rd Chemung County Fair, July 29th through August 2nd at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Catch grandstand favorites like truck and tractor pulls, demolition derbies, Black Cat Drivers Stunt Car Show, and the Battle of the Bands on July 31st. Join us for the 183rd Chemung County Fair. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's go to viewer comments. The viewer comment section of our program, brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. First up, it's simple. If NPR is going to be a mouthpiece for the Democrats, by default, part of that party, non-Democrats should not be paying for it. It is simply not fair or democratic. Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. As far as I'm concerned, NPR and PBS can go off the air. They're totally left and are in no need of government funding. Let the left viewers donate to them. Exactly. You can donate if you like watching it. You can make up that difference in the money that the government was giving them through your donations if you want. Ken writes in, I'm certainly not a late night TV critic since I go to bed around 10, I understand. But the few times I have been, I was exposed to Colbert's rantings, I just didn't think he had a grasp on reality, and bottom line is he isn't funny. I would have canned him a long time ago. That said, I wonder how TV executives decided on who they put in a certain spot, like Jimmy Fallon on, or Jimmy Failla on Fox. I put him in the same same box as Colbert. He just isn't funny. Gutfeld is funnier and probably gets more people watching just to hear how far he will go with his barroom talk. That is very true. Does that mean that possibility? It's me? Maybe I'm just sorry, it's Monday, folks. Maybe I'm just not easily amused. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. So the big story, of course, over the weekend has been all the talks about Trump and Epstein. The New York Times did a large piece, it's probably 20 pages here, inside the long friendship between Trump and Epstein. For nearly 15 years, the two men socialized together in Manhattan and Palm Beach before falling out that preceded Mr. Epstein's first arrest. I'm not going to go through what they had to say. If there was anything to this, we know it would have been reported a long time ago when it could have actually affected Trump winning. We know that if there was something in these documents that indicated Trump, got some bad information about Trump in it, don't you think they would have released that to help Biden at the time or to help Harris in her election? Well, Stephen Collinson asks, can Trump finally quell the Epstein story? And is it hurting his presidency? Even Donald Trump doesn't seem to think his angry and chaotic efforts to end the renewed storm over convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein will work. He warned in a weekend social media post that nothing will be good enough to satisfy what he claims are leftists and troublemakers fanning the uproar. In reality, however, the controversy was heightened by Trump's defensive outbursts following his aide's clumsy efforts to quell conspiracies that fueled before the 2024 election over Epstein's death in prison and supposed celebrity client list. But Trump's True Social post raises important questions. Will the intrigue, which differs from most of his political tangles since it set the president against his own base, be accelerated by new revelations, including curiosity over Trump's past ties to Epstein? Or, after 2 weeks of internal recrimination, would the MAGA movement unite to protect its patron following a Wall Street Journal report Thursday on Trump and Epstein, which the president used to set up his trademark assault on fake news? Well, that Wall Street Journal, I mean, they don't even have a copy of the supposed letter. I'm just so confused by that. But the Epstein matter was so far created its own momentum and defied his efforts to quiet it. It's rather curious in this sense, since it seems less pertinent to the lives of millions of Americans and the impact of Trump's radical policy moves and power grabs, which have repeatedly tested the Constitution and risked harming the economy. But scandals that boil away and don't fade are always a dangerous sign for White Houses, even when the president has a Teflon hide as thick as Trump's. One reason this controversy has legs is that its foundations are part of the MAGA philosophy, the idea that hidden elites in the intelligence agencies and government are running an American deep state that hides the truth about issues like child sex trafficking. Declarations by Trump officials who fomented the conspiracy that there's nothing to it seemed only to validate the concerns of committed conspiracies in this movement. The uproar showed no signs of passing at this weekend, frustrating Trump's efforts to highlight the success of his first 6 months in power, which he has used to gut parts of the federal government and send a jolt of social change through American life. Democrats launched a new push to discomfort Trump, parroting demands by some MAGA activists for total transparency over the Epstein case. And we know we had report after report. Politico did a one, Axios, about how Hakeem Jeffries was going to use this quote-unquote scandal as a weapon against Trump because they believe it is dividing his supporters. Your thoughts on it? This is his making. He was president when Epstein got indicted for these charges and went to prison. He was president back then. So all of us would believe they know what's in these documents. They know what's there. They have been claiming forever that they should be released. The administration missteps might give Democrats an opening, especially since Trump's approval ratings are now in the low 40s, and there's growing public concern over his signature hardline deportation policies. Okay. A new CNN poll Sunday showed that 55% of Americans think Trump has gone too far with his deportations. Your thoughts on that? Do you trust that CNN poll? 55% saying that they believe Trump has gone too far with his deportations. But despite fierce internal bickering in the MAGA movement, it's doubtful Epstein is a deal breaker for most of the president's supporters. A CBS News poll Sunday showed GOP voters evenly split over the Trump administration's handling of the matter. A majority of MAGA Republicans said they were satisfied. Only 36% of all voters and 11% of Republicans said the issue matters a lot when evaluating Trump's presidency. But if the public feels this way, why won't the storm abate? Well, because the media wants to cover it, and the Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats know that they finally have something that they think is a winning message in their attack on Trump. GOP office holders are still having a tough time navigating Epstein questions, a sign perhaps that the political impact might be greater than initially expected. Closing ranks around Trump, they're now trying to create a classic GOP versus Democrats fight that might further confuse and polarize the public. Tennessee Republican Tim Burkett declared that Democrats had blocked GOP attempts to release all information on the case when they held power in the Senate. Where the heck was she the last 4 years? Referencing Amy Klobuchar. Trump's hopes of dampening the anger may depend partly on matters out of his control, but if he simply stopped talking about it, it might help. His frequent outbursts and claims that nobody cares about Epstein could be just Trump being Trump, but they also offer an opening for critics to suggest he's something to hide. All right. It is amazing that you figure how long the Democrats were in power and they never released the information. But now they seem very interested in the Epstein story. Why would that be? Oh, this is Stephen Collinson of CNN. He also said Trump has called the baseball's Cleveland Guardians to reclaim their identity as the Cleveland Indians in a characteristic attempt to stoke culture war controversy, to fire up his base and steal oxygen from other issues. This might work for him again, but the fact he's delving into his classic tricks of political distraction is a telling sign he still doesn't know how to end the Epstein story. We've got some other things on Epstein. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we may wrap up today's edition, or the first hour of today, with it. And then we've got some other issues, New York issues. So keep your comments, keep your waves coming in a little quiet this morning. I understand. Appreciate it, though. I appreciate the comments that we've received so far. Keep them coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
It's time to say not so fast chronic kidney disease. Because with a progressive disease like CKD, slow is good. And believe me, I know all about slow. That's why I'm here to tell you about Jardiance. It's a little pill proven to slow the progression of CKD and reduce the risk of kidney failure, which can lead to dialysis.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
So go on, say not so fast CKD. Ask your doctor about Jardiance for chronic kidney disease.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're talking about Epstein. On Fox News Sunday, Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz said that, I don't know how to pronounce her first name, Ghislaine Maxwell, would be given immunity and be compelled to testify before a congressional committee about the Epstein files. Should be. You mentioned Maxwell. She's still got an appeal. I'm tracking at the Supreme Court. But in the meantime, you suggest she should be potentially offered congressional immunity to go and testify. Do you think that should happen? What kind of information would she have that we haven't seen? Dershowitz said she knows everything. She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single trip with everybody. She knows everything. And if she would just be given the use of the immunity, she could be compelled to testify. I'm told that she actually would be willing to testify, and there would be no reason for her to withhold any information. So I don't see any negative in giving her the kind of use of immunity that would compel her to testify. So she would be summoned in front of a congressional committee. Now, on Friday, I received this Friday after the program. It was kind of late, so we couldn't make it. So it's a little bit of old news, but I think it's still worth reading. It's Congressman Nick Langworthy saying yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, I apologize, saying on Friday, I fully support President Trump's call for ultimate transparency and applaud his order to release all grand jury testimony connected to the Epstein case. This is a bold and necessary move to deliver long overdue justice to the victims and expose every criminal involved in this horrific abuse. I salute him for taking decisive action where others have failed. I proudly join my Republican colleagues in advancing House Resolution 589 to demand the full release of all credible Epstein documents while safeguarding the privacy and dignity of all the victims. Every individual who committed crimes, especially against minors, must face the full force of the law. Democrats had 4 years under the Biden administration to pursue the truth, and they chose to do absolutely nothing. This week, they attempted a cynical political stunt that would not have released a single file. I voted no because it was a gimmick, not a path to justice. They had another chance to do the right thing last night. Instead, they once again chose obstruction and silence. House Republicans are taking real action to uncover the truth, hold the guilty accountable, and ensure the victims finally receive justice. With President Trump's leadership, the stonewalling ends now. The American people deserve to know the full truth, and we will not stop until they have it. Now, Maureen Dowd suggesting over the weekend that MAGA's new target is Trump himself. Do you accept this premise? People often become what they scorn. Donald Trump has become the deep state. He is the keeper of the secrets. He is the one stealing away people's liberties. He is the one weaponizing government and protecting the ruling class. With ICE and DOJ, Trump deputized wolf packs to root around in America's personal information. He got Republicans to give Stephen Miller his own army. Trump manipulates government to hurt his perceived enemies. He obscures rather than reveals, pushing aside reporters who ask pertinent questions in favor of Pravda-like partisans who take his side. Now, keep in mind, this is Miranda Devine. She does not like, or this is Maureen Dowd, excuse me. She does not like Trump. Miranda Devine, we're going to get to in a moment. I just got distracted there. But this is Maureen Dowd, not a big fan of the president. Trump's supporters thought he would shed light on shady elites protecting their own money and power. Now MAGA is reckoning with the fact that Trump is the shady elite shielding information about Jeffrey Epstein. Trump biographer Tim O'Brien said, so the guy who spent his lifetime saying the deep state hides things from you and represses you is now saying we've got nothing to hide, trust me. And the people won't follow him, the people that follow him don't. They think he's just as bad as the people he criticized before he became president. It's mythic, being devoured by the forces you unleashed. Trump has trafficked in conspiracy theories since the despicable birther one about Barack Obama. Now that whirlpool of dark innuendo has sucked him down. He can no longer control the Epstein conspiracy madness inflamed by his own top officials. Trump always reminded me of Lonesome Rhodes, a characteristic populist entertainer whose candid patter with plain folks garnered him enormous power in the movie Face in the Crowd with Andy Griffith. You remember that movie. Anyway. Natalie Winters, a reporter for Steve Bannon's War Room podcast, told Bannon that the Journal story made her feel gaslit by the administration. I thought the DOJ had nothing related to Epstein. Well, this story sort of contradicts that, so why don't we release it? It's maddening. Twisting conspiracy theories into a Gordian knot of hate, Trump is claiming some Epstein files were made up by Barack Obama, James Comey, losers and criminals of the Biden administration, and crooked Hillary. It's tough to blame the deep state when you are the deep state. That's Maureen Dowd's thought on it. We've got more on this when we come back, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Your Ira Pioneers are at home. Play ball! Friday, July 25th. Friday, July 25th, it's the last regular season game of the season. Friday, July 25th, it's free team photo night and Chemung County Animal Shelter Night. Bring pet food and get in for free. That's Friday, July 25th. Get your tickets. Call 734-2690.
You're what Big Fox. WYDC TV, Elmira Corning.
Dante Brown, Big Fox News, Corning.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us this morning. A viewer writes in during our Student Senior Services Fund section of the program where we read viewer comments. A viewer says, given that the Democrats have and continue to squabble over everything and anything they believe will detract from the success and accomplishment of Trump's administration, strongly indicates that they know that Trump's policies will be successful and will in fact make America great again. To any naysayers, I say just wait and see. Thank you very much. We're talking Epstein, and we're going to wrap that up. We'll probably have to go into a little bit at the top of the hour because I want to get to Miranda Devine's piece. But GOP Representative Burkett from Tennessee said, we're at the point where they're going to start dumping files. And my biggest fear in this, Jake, you got 1,000 children that were abused by this dirtbag who's burning in you know where right now. And he should be. And yet the American public's all pointing the finger, trying to play politics with this, and it's not accurate. He said, I have no earthly idea. You know, this town buries secrets. You wrote a book about it, and it's doing very well because America agrees with you. This town buries secrets. You know, this town does not give up its secrets easy, and it's fighting and kicking. And the reason I'm worried about these files now is the fact that the Biden administration, who in my opinion has had a history of corruption, has tampered with these files, and we're never going to get to the bottom of it. So there you are. Jasmine Crockett, the star of the Democrat Party, dubbed Trump a wannabe Hitler over the Epstein file dramas. I absolutely think that they are going to run away with this as quickly as possible. They want to show that they're loyal to this. You know, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure. They want to pledge their loyalty to him, and they know that he does not want this released. Okay. When we come back, we're going to read your comments. But also we have Miranda Devine says Trump wins in this Epstein battle, and she'll explain why. And I think we'll wrap up the discussion on my part of the discussion on Epstein after that. But you can feel free to weigh in on the Epstein issue. Do you think it's hurting Trump as much as the media and Democrats want you to believe it's hurting him? I know they think they found a major winning issue here. Now, whether or not that is the case is yet to be seen, but that's what the Democrats are using. They're using this as a weapon against Trump. We had that piece from Politico last week from Hakeem Jeffries saying so, trying to figure out the best way to have the biggest impact in their attacks on Trump in regards to Epstein. So your thoughts on it. Then we are going to talk about some New York updates. We also have a lot of updates on Democrats. Then perhaps just a quick at the end of the next hour, at the end of the program, just going through and bringing up some one-offs, things that there's no way to really segue between. But we'll talk about that and read your comments when we come back. It's hard to believe hour number 1 is already in the books. If you're new to the program, you see that number on the bottom of the screen. You can reach out at any time, like there. Someone just sent in a wave. That's our wave counter at the bottom, but you can reach out at any time. Text me or leave a voice message, and we will try to do our best to read it on the air on the program. So that's if you're new to the show. That's what that number there on the bottom of the screen is. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Living with chronic migraine? 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more. Botox prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine, and treatment is 4 times a year. So why wait? Talk to your doctor.
Botox effects may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as trouble swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Those with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions like rash, breathing problems, dizziness, neck and injection site pain, and headache. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions like ALS, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medicines like botulinum toxins, which may increase the risk of serious side effects.
In a survey, 91% of patients wish they'd started Botox sooner. Ask your doctor today. If eligible, you may pay
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to wrap up our discussion on Epstein. Miranda Devine says, if you listen to the rest of the media, both mainstream and social media, you would think Donald Trump was on the skids, that MAGA was at last turning on the president over the so-called Epstein files. And that's the message that Maureen Dowd was trying to portray in the New York Times over the weekend. But nothing could be further from the truth. According to polling the president crowed about over the weekend, and also according to history, every single time his enemies count him out, Trump roars back with a vengeance. That's very accurate. The latest effort last week to try to smear him as a sexual deviant and damage his marriage by tying him to Jeffrey Epstein is a case in point. The Wall Street Journal story Thursday was tame by comparison to the lurid rumors and wishful thinking that ripped through Washington, D.C. and newly anti-Trump Elon Musk's X all week. The story claimed Trump had contributed to a leather-bound book created by Epstein for Epstein's 50th birthday. We mentioned it last week. The typewriter letter reportedly involved an image. We're not going to talk about the image and all that. In its description of the letter, which it did not publish, the Wall Street Journal said there was also a doodle of a naked woman in Trump's signature. Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture, calling it fake, before launching a $10 billion libel action. Trump said, "Those are not my words, not the way I talk." And I think we can pretty much all agree with that. If you read the words, it wasn't Trump speak. But anyway, I can't express my own views about the merits or otherwise of the story for legal reasons, since the Post and the Wall Street Journal share the same parent company, said Miranda Devine. But I can say it's a nothing burger. So what if Trump wrote the letter or not? The date is 2003, 5 years before Epstein was convicted, before the world found out what a monster he was. It's no secret that Trump was chummy with Epstein in his heyday in Manhattan and Palm Beach, when the late pervert was a social climbing financier throwing star-studded parties. Epstein was a fixture of elite East Coast social circles in the 90s. It would be strange if Trump didn't know him. But the saga shows Trump in a good light, because years before Epstein's 2008 arrest and sweetheart plea deal, Trump banned him from Mar-a-Lago for being a creep, said Carolyn Levitt. According to legal filings and a 2020 book by lawyer Bradley Edwards, who represented several Epstein victims, Trump threw out Epstein around 2004 for sexually assaulting the daughter of a friend and Mar-a-Lago member. The New York Times claims Trump and Epstein also fell out over business around the same time, when they competed to buy a house in Palm Beach, forcing up the price and annoying Trump. Either way, there's no dispute that Trump cut ties with Epstein more than 20 years ago, which distinguishes him from other high-flying Epstein pals, such as Prince Andrew, former bank CEO Jess Staley, and Bill Gates, who kept up the association even after Epstein was convicted. It was during Trump's first presidency that federal prosecutors came after Epstein again, charging him. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but like everything else with Epstein, people are inclined to see links where there are none. After the Wall Street Journal broke Thursday, Trump asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to release any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. But just because people associated with Epstein doesn't make them complicit in his crimes. The DOJ and FBI have said there is no Epstein client list, as in a list of men whom, would have called Epstein for favors. What does exist is Epstein's little black book, bulging with 1,971 names, uncovered in 2009 when his butler tried to sell it. It has been the subject of intense reporting, but you can't judge the names guilty just because Epstein had their number. There's a lot of names associated with Epstein that have nothing to do with Epstein's conduct, said Bill O'Reilly, that maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because they're not going to be in context. The media doesn't care about context, so you can't do that. Now, It says here, meanwhile, the same media is ignoring the latest bombshell revelation in the Russiagate scandal unveiled last week by Tulsi Gabbard, where the evidence of wrongdoing by President Barack Obama and his henchmen exists and is compelling. Trump is having the last laugh anyway, as CNN pollster Harry Enton pointed out last week. Quote, if anything, Donald Trump's approval ratings has gone up since the whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close to it in terms of his popularity with Republicans. Epstein filed complaints or not. Who knew Twitter and X are not reality? It just goes to prove the noisiest loudmouths who claim to represent MAGA just represent themselves. Oh, I had a couple comments I forgot to read when we came back in. Mark writes that a man stormed a crowd. Oh, yeah, this was in his vehicle, injuring in L.A., injuring 30 people, and then was shot by a bystander. I think the bystander is still, quote unquote, on the loose. I want to ask him questions if I'm not mistaken. Yes, injuring 30 people. That happened late yesterday. We're going to talk about some New York State issues. I see some other comments coming in. I just haven't had a chance to read them. We'll read them in the next segment of the program. But let's talk about New York State, shall we? The New York Post editorial board, we brought this up last week on the program, but the city and the state's fiscal pain just got real, and it was also avoidable. We said it was avoidable at the time when Governor Hochul was depending so much on federal money. We said that was a bad idea, but of course, she thought she could use it as a way to attack Trump. Albany and City Hall are now staring at some wicked fiscal headwinds, according to a watchdog report, but it's not like they weren't warned. The Citizens Budget Commission is flagging both the city and state's massive budget, slamming them as unaffordable and unprepared in light of federal funding cuts and a possible economic slowdown down the road. With passage of President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which aims to slightly curb the growth of federal outlays, including aid to New York, Governor Hochul is directing state agencies to cut $750 million from their budgets. When folks gripe, she'll just point her finger at Trump. Convenient, no? But also reckless and dishonest. And she still have to find another $3 billion, and that's assuming no further cuts from Washington in the short term, and the economy that remains robust. Plus a long-term structural gap. CBC says it's now a monstrous $22 billion. It was all sadly predictable. But Hochul and state lawmakers nonetheless decided to blithely run up the tab to a whopping $250 billion plus, figuring they can blame the GOP when they have to make cuts or raise taxes. Take healthcare. Lawmakers boosted spending on it by 17%, even as the Empire Center's Bill Hammond predicted federal Medicaid cuts would shift over $3.3 billion in costs to the state. In April, budget expert E.J. McMahon slapped Hochul and the legislature for whistling in the dark instead of anticipating likely changes to the state's nearly out-of-control Medicaid program. Now the governor's budget director won't rule out raising taxes, even though Hochul vowed she wouldn't. The CBC instead urges to keep her promise and instead shred her $2 billion inflation reduction checks, i.e. re-election bribes, for starters. The group also called out the city's $116 billion spendapalooza and hit both Albany and City Hall for not squirreling away some reserves, or enough reserves. Whoever becomes mayor in November, it noted, will have to fill a $6 billion to $8 billion budget gap in just 16 days of taking office. It also ripped mayoral frontrunner Zohran Mamdani's planned tax hikes to cover his ludicrous plans for $10 billion in new outlays. He'd be setting a record for irresponsibility. New Yorkers are now sure to be hit with some pain, whether it's spending cuts or tax hikes. The polls will try to shift blame, of course, but the public wouldn't be in this mess if the leaders had acted like adults from the start. Yeah, we talked about it at the time. We said she's, first of all, attacking Trump, which isn't a good idea when you're talking about federal cuts and depending so much on federal money. So it came as no surprise, but it's perfect in Hochul's mind that she can just blame the GOP, she can blame Trump, and blame the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, New York's prison staffing problems that we've talked so much about, and of course we talked about the strike, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that staffing woes have helped drive overtime spending up to a massive $445 million. Understaffing in New York's beleaguered state prisons helped drive the state's massive overtime spending to the tune of $445 million, even before Kathy Hochul canned thousands more corrections officers amid an illegal strike earlier this year. The Department of Corrections and Community Supervision was the worst offender across state agencies in 2024, notched a nearly 21% increase in overtime costs compared to the year prior. State agencies overall continue to ramp up overtime spending last year by an eye-watering 10%, or nearly $1.3 billion from 2023. That's what Tom DiNapoli's office found. Wow. No comment needed, just the staffing woes. And who, we've talked about this on the program before, who would want to become a corrections officer when you've seen the governor attack them at every turn? Even if it's something as simple as just closing prisons without giving them any kind of notice. People losing their job on edge. Will they have to uproot their family in 90 days? And of course, with the strike and the firing of all those COs, well, the overtime spending now up to a massive $445 million. Speaking of New York problems, shall we? So there's a Democrat running to be a district attorney in Nassau County. That top prosecutor encouraged convicted criminals to apply for a job on her campaign that could pay them up to $7,000 a month. District Attorney candidate Nicole Alos' campaign posted an ad seeking a communications director on job website Indeed.com as she tries to unseat Republican incumbent District Attorney Ann Donnelly. People with a criminal record are encouraged to apply, she said in the job posting. The call for ex-cons to apply for a job sticks out like a sore thumb in an otherwise traditional job description that notes applicants should have previous experience in media relations, dealing with New York journalists, or working on campaigns. Any top manager's goal is to get the candidate favorable press coverage. Donnelly called the advertisement more than politically tone-deaf, labeling the job solicitation dangerous and claiming it exposes Alolisa's criminal-first agenda that puts criminals over law-abiding citizens. All right, we got to take a short break. Whoops. This hour is moving just as fast as the last hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Attention, Elmaron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmaron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmaron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmaron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Trust your to Dr. Henches at either Watkins Glen, Elmira, Horseheads, or Elkland Family Dentistry. All 4 locations provide cutting-edge technology to make sure your visit is comfortable and stress-free. Dr. Henches offers treatment in all areas of dentistry, including same-day crowns, implants, root canals, oral surgery, and treatment for all ages. For the best dental care in the region, trust Dr. Henches and his staff at Watkins Glen, Horseheads, Elmira, and Elkland Family Dentistry. Call any one of his offices today or visit them online for more information.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Flavors that feed your fancy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oreo Thins. Stay playful.
Get for the 183rd Chemung County Fair, July 29th through August 2nd at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games. CountyFair.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so. Wow, I missed a lot of comments coming in. Wow. Thank you. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them because I didn't read them all before going on the air, and I like to do that, but I look forward to reading them all. Oh, here's one. Frank, good morning. Can you say hi to Riley and wish her a happy birthday? Riley just turned 7. She is watching while she eats her Eggo waffles. Well, Riley, big happy birthday to you. Let's see. I used to have... Yeah, here we go. Ready? Happy birthday. There's our celebration. Happy birthday, Riley. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying the program. All right, a comment from a different viewer. A happy 7th birthday. That's a very exciting birthday. Ken writes in, I agree with you on the Epstein issue. If there was anything that could have incriminated Trump, the legacy media and Dems would have endlessly pushed a highly modified version of it to the public. I still think that Trump deciding not to release the Epstein list as a deal with some Republicans that are on the list in return for getting enough votes for the big, beautiful bill and the following rescission bills. There may be something there. The good part is that the country gets permanent tax relief and billions in savings. The benefit for Trump is that he is keeping promises. The bad part is that the pedophiles get off without punishment and are able to continue unscathed. Yes, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. This viewer, a different viewer, obviously, writes, lock him up, Frank. We all know that Trump is incapable of telling the truth. Key characteristics of a narcissistic liar. Frequent lying. Narcissists lie habitually, often about details that enhance their self-image or manipulating others, or to manipulate others. Manipulation. They use lies to control others, seeking admiration, sympathy, or to maintain a sense of superiority. Deception for self-gain. Lies are a tool to bolster their ego and achieve their goals, often at the expense of others. A lack of empathy. They struggle to understand or care about the impact of their lies on others. Gaslighting. They may use lies to make others question their own reality, eroding their confidence and making them more susceptible to manipulation, according to Nourish Wellness. Escalation when confronted. Instead of remorse, they then deny, minimize, or blame others when confronted with evidence of their lies. All right. Thank you for that. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. The Democrats will need to get beyond the Epstein dream before the swelling in Trump's ankle goes down, or they'll have to wait for something else to be optimistic about. Thank you very much. I see some other comments coming in. Just haven't had a chance to read them. We will read them in the next segment. Did you see over the weekend that disgraced former governor, Andrew Cuomo, said that he'll pack his bags and flee to Florida if he loses the mayoral race? Uh-oh. Now we don't know what to do. Do you root for the socialist? It's all or nothing. We either win or even I will move to Florida. Florida, God forbid, Cuomo told business leaders. The statement drew laughs, and Cuomo's campaign, as per Artie, later saying it was all a joke. It was a wow line, said one attendee. It got everyone's attention. Now, the former governor took plenty of shots at Mamdani's pie-in-the-sky proposals to freeze rents on stabilized apartments, calling it a death sentence for the housing market because it would likely lead to many landlords spending less money maintaining properties. Cuomo saved plenty of ammo for Mayor Adams, another Democrat seeking re-election as an independent. He claimed the Big Apple hasn't had a competent mayor since Michael Bloomberg left office at the end of 2013, and the Adams could not focus for much of the 3+ years on his job because of the now closed federal corruption probe and other controversies. The city feels out of control, he said. Now, Cuomo's spokesman, Rich Azzopardi, said Governor Cuomo would never give up on New York. That said, the line underscored the stakes in the upcoming election and the risk of electing a dangerously inexperienced, hate-spewing 33-year-old socialist whose campaign consists of unrealistic bumper sticker slogans. So even former governor Andrew Cuomo would move to Florida. Supposedly it was a joke, but if Mamdani wins, Sean Hannity urged others to move to, quote, the free state of Florida if Mamdani is elected. Fox News host Sean Hannity has claimed there will be a mass exodus out of the state if New York Democrat Zohran Mamdani is elected as the city's mayor in November, warning that many companies will choose to relocate to Florida in order to avoid burdensome regulations and high taxes. Now, if you recall, Hannity moved to Florida in January. He made the claim on Fox and Friends, where he said something else here. While sharing his views on the rating, which he noted is at an all-time low, Hannity suggested that it may be related to the political party's choice of spokespeople, mocking the likes of Bernie Sanders, AOC, and other members of a group called the Squad. before taking the aim at Mamdani. If they want to go with Mamdani as the mayor of New York City, I invite you all to come and broadcast your show as I do, originate your show in the free state of Florida, because there's going to be a mass exodus out of the state of New York, the likes of which we have never seen. Addressing the impact of New York City's economy, the Fox News host went on to warn that the many businesses have already made the decision to set up bases in Florida and will likely turn even more attention to the southern state in the event of Mamdani's victory in November's mayoral election. What a lot of people don't know, and it's a pretty fascinating phenomenon, is that Wall Street South is already here. All these companies, they don't have to have offices, or they don't just have offices in southern Florida. No, they've got half their companies down here now. The reason is because of the burdensome regulation, high taxes, they've chased them out, and they're probably going to pick up and leave completely now. So Mamdani's numbers have been going down. It looked like it might have been a slam dunk in the beginning. I'm not so sure now. Cuomo's definitely leading in terms of coming into second place, but you've got three leftists on the ticket beside Mamdani. And sorry, Eric Adams is not polling particularly well, although I know there's going to be a lot of money thrown in his direction. We've already learned that there is a lot of money being thrown at Adams. Now, Representative Adam Smith wants you to know that Mamdani does not speak for the Democrat Party. Look, the mayor of New York has never, ever, ever been the leader of the Democrat Party. Well, he's not mayor yet. Mamdani isn't speaking for our party any more than I'm speaking for our party. It's a big coalition. He says and then he went on to attack Trump by saying he has said he secured the border. He's spending all this money now on going around and terrorizing communities with high-profile ICE raids, which are not effective, which has turned people against him on immigration. We Democrats have a message, and we have a message to deliver. And I'll tell you this, the mayor of New York, no matter who he is not going to be the leader of our party. And we still need to stay focused on those issues. Ex-Governor George Pataki claims that New York's top 3 Democrats are hiding in the weeds on their Mamdani support. Where is the leadership? The mainstream media is not asking Jeffries, is not asking Schumer, is not asking Hochul. Are you for Mamdani or not? Give us an answer. Don't hide. They are all hiding, Pataki said. You can't really have a party that stands for anything when you have a Marxist running. And the 3 main leaders in New York of the Democrat Party, Jeffries, Schumer, and Hochul, are all hiding in the weeds. Make them come out of the weeds. Are you for Mamdani or not? Pataki said the Democrat leaders may feel they're in a no-win situation, but they can't forever duck the Mamdani question. If they endorse Mamdani, they have to endorse an anti-Semite Marxist. If they don't endorse him, then they're going to get primaried by all those left-wing radicals. Courage is required in this extraordinary situation, the former governor said. Where is the leadership? Are you going to support this left-wing anti-Semite, or are you going to stand up for common sense? They're afraid to do it. We can't let them get away with it, he said of Hochul, Schumer, and Jeffries. John Ketchum says that Mamdani would make New York a gloomy, and I don't want to talk too much more about this. We do have a couple gubernatorial updates, if you will, but Mamdani would make New York a gloomy city of handouts and moochers, is what the argument is here. Success in New York was always tougher than any place else. Making it here meant you could make it anywhere. Only the very poor receive charity or government assistance, and only enough to help them get on their feet and start helping themselves. Zoran Mamdani has a very different philosophy. Much of his affordability agenda isn't targeted to the neediest, but to New Yorkers who should be paying their own way. Take fare-free buses. The city already offers a half-price fare fee program for low-income bus and subway riders. Free buses would be available to everyone, including well-paid professionals and even the loathed billionaires. Food stamps, too, are means tested, but city-run grocery stores wouldn't stop millionaires from scooping up avocados at below market price. Plenty of wealthy people already live in rent-stabilized apartments, so freezing the rent would benefit some rich tenants as landlord expenses, even though these small landlords who are less well off than their tenants. So there you are. That's just a couple of updates. I don't want to get too much into Mamdani, being that that's New York City. But we have some 2 or 3 other New York issues, and then we're going to get into the Democrat Party and what they're facing, because a lot of people do look at Mamdani. They do look at AOC and the socialist wing of the party as kind of the leaders, as the faces of the Democratic Party. But we're going to read your comments when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
When you're online, don't forget Visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Let GCP Discount Liquors and Wines cool you off this summer with neutral vodka seltzers on sale for $13.99 all month. Save more with a $4 QR rebate, making your final cost $9.99 on an 8-pack. 750 milliliter Dr. Frank dry or semi-dry Riesling, normally $16.99, is on sale this month for $13.99 a bottle. GCP Discount Liquors and Wines and Horseheads, the best in service, selection, and price.
Cost isn't given, it's built. One choice, one moment, one step at a time. How you feel is how you play. It starts with a click. Invisalign.
Tire Warning is your back-to-school tune-up authority. Family service you can trust. Save big on all brand name tires, suspensions, oil changes, inspections, tune-ups, and exhaust. We give you peace of mind this school season. Your car, your kid's car, your off-to-college car. We have all kinds of tires for all kinds of vehicles. We love tires. We love maintaining your vehicles.
I would highly recommend them.
We came in, 5 minutes, we're in and out.
Get the job done right the first time.
Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
Summer deals are so hot, it's like Black Friday in July. That means up to 75% off fine jewelry, linen blazers for over half off, and floral print comforter sets starting at $21.99. Macy's Black Friday in July starts Wednesday.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. The viewer comment section of our program brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund. Omar Fatah is on pace to become the endorsed Democrat for Minneapolis mayor. He currently leads with 43%. He needs 60% to secure it as they head into the second ballot. The socialist takeover of the Democrat Party is unfolding in real time in Minnesota. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Even admitting, just a comment. Okay, thank you. It's clear that Democrats blame everyone but themselves for the mess that they have created. I just hope that we New Yorkers can survive until 2026 when, fingers crossed, us voters will break the one-party rule that festers here in this state. Yes, one-party rule is why we're dealing, well, like, for instance, the budget shortfalls and what we're dealing with tax-wise, what we're dealing with public safety-wise, which we had that great story for you. Not great. It was just a great article showing the disaster of bail reform. Comment from a different viewer. As far as lies, no one lies more than Democrats. They lied about their leader, Biden, having medical issues as he was unfit to be president. Thank you very much. Okay, one of the names that was being thrown around for governor, to speak to that one viewer's comment about breaking one-party rule, Nassau County exec Bruce Blakeman has raked in $2 million for a campaign because it looks as if he has, I guess, a Democrat challenger for executive. So maybe he'll be a little bit too busy to worry about the gubernatorial race. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman tripled his campaign war chest in a year and raised nearly $1.5 million more than his election opponent in the first half of 2025. The Republican pulled in just under $2 million from PACs, corporations, unions, and individual donors between January 15th and July 15th, according to the most recent campaign filings, while Democrat Seth Kozlow only brought in $433,535. Blakeman ended, you don't need to know all the numbers. I just bring this up because this may change the trajectory a little bit on the gubernatorial race. I don't think his name has been thrown around as much lately, but I know Mike Lawler and Elise Stefanik are the two big names. Blakeman was always someone mentioned, but not sure if he would run. I'm proud to have earned overwhelming support from hardworking taxpayers, law enforcement, trade union, and local employees who stand behind my record of holding the line on taxes and keeping Nassau the safest county in America. Now, did you see? This was interesting. AOC, I guess, was in Plattsburgh, New York, over the weekend, some type of rally. Well, Republicans are accusing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of fear-mongering during a stop in Representative Elise Stefanik's upstate district, where she said the Congresswoman is not welcome here anymore. The far-left Big Apple politician quickly jumped into politics at a Plattsburgh town hall event advertised as a response to President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, mocking Stefanik for taking a farewell tour of the district when she thought she was about to become the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, saying, Elise did her farewell tour. I think it's time to finish the job, she said as the crowd went crazy. Let's show her the door. She's not welcome here anymore. Ooh, I don't know. I don't like kind of the rhetoric. This comes after we learned that, again, Congressman Langworthy had those threats made to him and his staff members. Learned about that. I know the Hornell Sun, I saw a piece on it, but when the real serious, credible threats being made to Congress people, is that the kind of rhetoric you want to use? Stefanik is now, well, it says here, this is interesting, whose ambassador nomination was yanked by President Trump because he was worried a Democrat would fill her House seat, is now running for governor. Is she officially declared? That's the New York Post, I think, jumped the gun a little bit there, unless I missed some huge announcement the last couple days. AOC and Democrat North Country Representative Paul Tonka may love trying to tax and spend their own constituents to death, but that doesn't mean they should come to the North Country and peddle the same tired, failing Democrat agenda, said State Senator Dan Steck. Rather than continuing to spread disinformation and fear-mongering over President Trump's historically significant legislative achievement, they should be telling Kathy Hochul and legislative Democrats to rein in Albany's bloated state budget. Now, Elise Stefanik, the New York Republican Committee told the Post, as usual, AOC is beyond parody. Unlike AOC, a suburbanite cosplaying as a girl from the Bronx, Elise Stefanik is actually from her district. The North County is Elise country, and it's Trump country, and it'll stay that way. Erie County GOP Chair Michael Kraker quipped on Twitter, the Republican Party will never recover from this, meaning the speech that AOC gave. A rep for Stefanik asked by the Post if she had any response to AOC, saying she's not welcome in her own district. She said in a statement, thank you for the political gift of a radical, far-left socialist visit to the North Country. It's like pouring jet fuel on Elise Stefanik's strong support in upstate New York. The event was co-hosted by Tonka, who hailed his colleague Alex as the figurehead of the Democrat Party. They say, well, she's the future of the party. I say she's the today of the party. Okay, Tonka. Well, there you are. So Elise Stefanik, the New York Post makes it sound, well, I know she did say it's just a matter of when she makes the announcement for governor, not if. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. Let me see. How am I doing on time? Good. Let's talk about the Democrat Party in general, and we can move around on any of these topics. I know we've talked a lot about Epstein this morning. We talked New York State issues. Anything you would like to discuss, feel free. You don't have to keep me on whatever I'm talking about, but I would like to highlight some of the struggles of the Democrat Party. Now, Senate Majority Leader John Thune warned that Congress may be careening towards a partial government shutdown this fall because of pressure from the far left flank of the Democrat Party. Thune observed that Chuck Schumer has faced intense pressure from his base and mused that a few upcoming votes will provide more clarity about the risk of a partial shutdown. I think he, meaning Schumer, probably thinks that that's beneficial to their political base, the far left of the Democrat Party. And you can kind of see that's happening up here in New York politics. In March, Schumer faced fierce progressive backlash after he declined to block a GOP-backed spending patch to avert a partial government shutdown. The blowback was so pronounced that Schumer was forced to reschedule parts of his book tour as progressives demanded Democrats in Congress put up more of a fight against President Trump. Yes, that was the beginning of the calls for the resistance, the calls to do more. Remember, that was kind of their chant, do more or do something, which is a term they've used a lot. They do it at gun control. They'll say, do something. I'm not really sure that's a successful slogan. But yes, if you recall, it was Chuck Schumer at the time in their mind, wimping out on that decision. And there was calls for him to be primary by AOC. There was calls for him to be removed as some type of leader in the Democrat Party. This is a party struggling for an identity, said Thune, meaning the Democrat Party. This is a party that's completely out of step with the mainstream of the country. We're going to be waiting to see anxiously what Chuck Schumer and other leaders on the Democrat side decide to do. We are doing everything we can to keep the bipartisan appropriations process going, said Schumer earlier this month, and they're undermining it with rescissions, with pocket rescissions, with impoundment, and every other way. The implication from Schumer is that Democrats can't trust Republicans to stick to the terms of a bipartisan appropriations deal because they've shown a willingness to bypass them via rescissions and presidential impoundment when Trump decided not to spend certain authorized funding. On the Republican side, GOP leaders, particularly in the House, have long struggled to get fiscal hawks on board with either a continuing resolution or the 12 appropriations bills. There's been a strong push from the right flank for deeper cuts to spending, something that is a deal breaker for Democrats. All right, we do have to take a short break. I realize that. I see some comments coming in. We'll get to those in just a moment. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Get for the 183rd Chemung County Fair, July 29th through August 2nd at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Catch grandstand favorites like truck and tractor pulls, demolition derbies, Black Cat Drivers Stunt Car Show, and the Battle of the Bands on July 31st. Join us for the 183rd Chemung County Fair. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Your Ira Pioneers are at home. Play ball! Friday, July 25th. Friday, July 25th, it's the last regular season game of the season. Friday, July 25th, it's free team photo night and Chemung County Animal Shelter Night. Bring pet food and get in for free. That's Friday, July 25th. Get your tickets. Call 734-2690.
Watching Big Fox, WYDC TV, Elmira Corning.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to viewer comments. Viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. And don't forget that silent auction is online now. There is the website for Steuben Senior Services Fund. It's the Bubbly and Brunch event that it takes place next Sunday. You can find out more at the Steuben Senior Services website, but that is the auction. Anybody can bid on that auction. You don't have to attend the Bubbly and Brunch event. You can just go online and donate. Okay, let's go to viewer comments here. First up, where is it? A lot came in. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, thanks, Rick. I hope you did as well. Donald. Why can't you own something for once? You drew your pal a goofy birthday card with your silly black Sharpie. Own it. Lie. Rupert won't cave into a Trump. Hey, 10 Republicans and all the Democrats want to see all the Epstein files. All of it. Gotta love it. Isn't that great? 500 metric ton of USAID food will be destroyed as the expiration date is here. This food could have fed 1.5 million children for a week. Nice job, Musk and Trump. Who needs USAID? Instead of fixing the program, just axe it. 1.1 million pounds of food going to the landfill. Israel is still upping their sick games. They wait for Palestinians to form a line at a relief station. Then, sick people. All I got this morning, busy weekend. Well, good. Glad you had a busy weekend, Rick. I hope. I hope it was a good busy weekend. I understand, and I don't know. This seems like one of those reports that I don't necessarily believe the anonymous source, but they're saying behind the scenes that some in the Trump circle anyway, maybe Trump himself, not very happy with Benjamin Netanyahu. We may get to that as well. Ken writes in, I usually don't respond to negative comments about Trump. This isn't in reference to Rick's, by the way. This came in well before Rick's. I usually don't respond to negative comments about Trump because the commentators clearly have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, and we should be understanding about their condition. But I feel I had to respond to the contributor that said Trump is a narcissist. I completely agree that he is a narcissist, and above all, he doesn't want to fail. The benefit of Trump's narcissism is that he wants the country to be the safest, richest, and greatest country in the world, and I want the same. And when that happens, it will elevate all other countries. I'm confused, though. If the contributor hates the idea of narcissism in politics, why does he not hate the Democrats? His explanation of what a narcissist is fits literally every Democrat in the country. Thank you, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. Democrats think Trump will fire Powell. He'll be out next year, and Trump won't fire him because the economy is doing well despite his slow and effective reaction to lower inflation that should have brought rates down already. Got to ask why he lowered rates before the election when inflation was much higher. Great point. A comment from a different viewer. I'd like to encourage the Trump haters that they only have to wait 3.5 years for Trump to leave office. After that, there'll be 8 years of JD Vance, and he isn't a narcissist. Buy stocks and gas guzzlers and enjoy the ride. Thank you very much. Yeah, the polls show, and I meant to print that out, and I must have not made it to the printer this morning, but the polls show overwhelmingly that Vance is the favorite going into 2028. Now, there's a long time, don't get me wrong, long time, but just interesting. Marco Rubio, I think, was second, but a distant second. I don't have it in front of me. I wish I did. Maybe I'll be able to find it later. According to the New York Times, Democrats' 2024 autopsy, looking at what they got wrong, is described as avoiding the likeliest cause of death. An audit being conducted by the DNC is not looking at Joe Biden's decision to run or key decisions by Kamala Harris's team, according to 6 people briefed of the report. Is this Wall Street Journal? Yeah, New York Times. The Democrat National Committee's examination of what went wrong in the 2024 election is expected to mostly steer clear of the decision made by the Biden-turned-Harris campaign and will focus more heavily instead on actions taken by allied groups, according to interviews with 6 people briefed on the report's progress. The audit, which the committee is calling an after-action review, is expected to avoid the question of whether former President Joe Biden should have run for re-election in the first place, whether he should have exited the race earlier than he did, and whether former Vice President Kamala Harris was the right choice to replace him, according to people briefed on the process so far. Well, yeah, they had no choice. They didn't want their voters to have a say in who was going to be their pick, so they installed Kamala Harris. Nor is review expected to revisit key decisions by the Harris campaign, like framing the election as a choice between democracy and fascism, and refraining from hitting back after an ad by Donald Trump, memorably, they're saying kind of like a historic in the realm of politics ad that Trump put out, attacking Ms. Harris on transgender rights by suggesting that she was for they, them, while Trump was for you. Party officials described the draft document as focusing on the 2024 election as a whole, but not on the presidential campaign, which is something like eating at a steakhouse and then reviewing the salad. Producing a tough-minded public review of a national electoral defeat would be a politically delicate exercise under any circumstances, given the need to find fault with the work and judgment of important party leaders and strategists. It is particularly fraught for the new DNC chairman, Ken Martin, who promised a post-election review from his first day on the job, but whose first few months in the role has been plagued by infighting and financial strains. Yeah, Ken Martin, he was the one that was on that audio, on that phone call, nearly crying because David Hogg was getting more attention than him. He's not really doing what you would call a solid job. He also said Mamdani was welcome. That anti-Semitic talk and the support of that anti-Semitic statement was okay because the Democrats want a big tent and everyone's welcome, signaling that the strain, the marbling of the Democrat Party with anti-Semitism is welcomed by Mr. Martin. Jane Cleave, the Nebraska Democrat chairwoman, said, "We are not interested in second-guessing campaign tactics or decisions of campaign operatives. We are interested in what voters turned out for, Republicans and Democrats, and how we can fix this moving forward. Locked out of power at the federal level, Democrats are struggling to show that they have taken to heart the message that voters sent in November and are well suited to regain power in future elections. The review, which was begun in March and is being led by Paul Riviera, a veteran Democrat operative, is not yet complete and the report is not fully drafted. Mr. Riviera, nonetheless, has begun briefing people on what the report has found so far, and those briefings suggest the Democrat autopsy will avoid addressing some of the likeliest or leading causes of death. Among those is whether Mr. Biden should have run for re-election. Some of Mrs. Harris's top aides have faulted him for dropping out so late, and she had just 107 days to campaign as the presidential nominee. But Mr. Biden's son, Hunter, said on a podcast this week that Democrats lost because they did not remain loyal to his father. Top Democrat, I don't think anybody's learned. We talked about this back after November. Will they learn? Will they do some soul searching? The media and the Democrat Party, and we said at the time, probably not. They're not willing to really take a look at what is destroying their party, which is fine. That's their own decision to make. While Republican leaders did not adopt many of its recommendations in time for the 2016 election, Mr. Trump's campaign ran counter to many of the changes the RNC had proposed, and he has since remade the Republican Party in his image. And I've talked about that, where I think the Democrat Party is going through something similar right now, where they want to they don't want to listen to the establishment anymore. One of the reasons why Mamdani won is Cuomo's kind of the establishment. They don't want to listen to the James Carvilles of the world who always tell them you've got to vote for this person, and then they continue to lose. We'll get your last-minute comments in. We only have 2 breaks, and then the program is through. So get all your last-minute comments in, and we'll be right back. But frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
William Mattar has earned a reputation for being a straight shooter.
Because I am a straight shooter.
For being honest.
Here's what we're willing to pay.
Because I am honest.
For winning a lot.
Because we win a lot.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
I have lived here now for 3.5 years. I decided to become an ambassador because I understood how difficult it was for some people to get adjusted. Trying to get people involved in the community so that they could have some friends. I think the worst thing in the world is not to have a friend. So when you come here and you don't know anyone, it's really important that you get them connected with somebody else in a hurry. And so I wanted to make that easier for people when they came in.
In Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition. Severe flooding has caused major disruptions in parts of Steuben County.
Throughout the year, prison reform has become a priority around New York State.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We were talking about the Democrats kind of looking into what led to the historic landslide loss in 2024. But the study is being described as avoiding the likeliest cause of the failure. Speaking of which, there's some candidates that are already somewhat throwing their hat in the ring for 2028. Senator Amy Klobuchar, remember her? She was on State of the Union, and Jake Tapper said, "You visited New Hampshire last week to campaign for Congressman Chris Pappas in his Senate race. New Hampshire, of course, an early primary state now that Joe Biden is no longer in office. New Hampshire goes back to the front of the line. Are you considering at all a presidential run in 2028? And what do Democrats need to do to get there to get your dismal approval ratings up? Klobuchar said, I think every Democrat, national Democrat, including myself, is focused on this upcoming election, which is the midterms. That's why I was there to help Chris Pappas, who's a tremendous candidate. What you've seen is we've got now an incredible candidate that are running all over the country. We're going to be focusing on a forward-looking agenda to counteract all the, we'll say, garbage that's been going on with this administration. When you look at the enthusiasm of our voters that are showing up, the people in the middle moderate Republicans, independents that hate the chaos and the corruption and the costs going up, I'm feeling better and better about how Democrats are doing every single day. The polls show that the president, some of them including one Fox News poll similar to some of the things that you've been showing, the president's approval rating way underwater when it comes to handling of the economy. That's what people are talking about in New Hampshire and Minnesota, any state across the country. They go in, they grocery store, and the president can tell them inflation isn't a factor, but they just see the prices going up, a doubling of prices of coffee. It would have been nice if for the last 4 years they ever worried about inflation. The media covered it up. Democrats like Amy Klobuchar would not mention it. But that's what we're seeing. He can say what he wants. He can say what he wants on True Social and blame Fox News when they put a post on and say, hey, we don't like them. Except maybe some of their anchors are great and bully the media. But the facts are they are for the American people the minute they walk into a grocery store. So, again, Jake Tapper has to kind of rein her in, saying, so 2028, you're not ruling it out, fair to say? No, I'm focused on my job in the Senate, and I'm really focused on our great candidates that are all across the country. Anyone else that's not doing that right now, I think they better look at what Donald Trump's doing to our economy and doing to our democracy and Constitution. Beto O'Rourke doesn't rule out the 2026 Senate run, as he calls on Democrats to be ruthless. Former Texas Representative Beto O'Rourke, remember that name, is still weighing whether to enter his state's 2026 Senate race amid incumbent Senator John Cornyn's bruising primary battle. O'Rourke, who's lost 3 contests since he last won a mayoral election in 2016, kept the door open as a possible run despite former Representative Colin Allard already tossing his hat in the ring. Well, I hadn't thought about Beto O'Rourke in a long time. I don't know, right now I'm holding these town halls all over the state of Texas, across the country, to listen to people, to bring them together, and to channel our anger into action, O'Rourke said. But I'm very optimistic about Democrats' opportunities in 2026. Now, O'Rourke lost to Cruz by about 2.5 percentage points during the blue wave year in the deeply red state. All right, get your last second. One last one. Stacey Abrams will not rule out another run for office. Remember that name? Failed Democrat Georgia gubernatorial candidate. Stacey Abrams is not ruling out another run for office. The news coming after a party has worried that she might do so again. During an interview with NPR, who lost their funding, Abrams spoke about whether or not she would run for office. She said, I truly have not made any decision, and that is in part because there's an urgency to 2025 that we cannot ignore. My focus right now is on how we do ensure that we have free and fair elections in 2026. There's a lot of hope being pinned on the 2026 midterms. Democrats were concerned about the prospect of Abrams trying to get elected again. The outlet said at the time, Abrams saw her star power take a hit in December of last year for her poor financial management in the wake of her failure to unseat Republican Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. As previously reported, Stacey Abrams raised over $100 million for her failed campaign, but still found herself over $1 million in debt, prompting her to fire staff immediately after the November election. Democrats did not withhold their criticism of her financial decisions. All right, we're going to wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking, so get your questions, your comments, your concerns in, and we'll be right back after this.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Seneca offers you breathtaking views, gorgeous waterfalls, award-winning wine, guided kayak tours, boating options, great places to dine, and so much more. Your experience awaits you. Come experience Seneca Lake.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
I know. You to the east side. I just sang it.
You're talking to yourself now. You realize that.
Every weekday.
There you go. There's your money right there.
Weekdays at 11 on CBS 24.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and let's wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking with a Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. First up, I'm sick and tired of Democrats trying to justify their overwhelming election defeats by saying that it was Biden's brain health and so on, when it was, at least in my mind, the state of the economy, crime, open borders, and so forth that their idiotic, shallow-minded policies caused. Mark writes in, Frank, have a good day and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And Ken writes in, completely off any of today's topics. That's always fine. But a question for Climate Change Bob. Everybody likes Climate Change Bob. Why do the environmentalists push hard against eliminating fossil fuels and don't say a word about the literally thousands of forest fires, constantly burning around the world? If they put their energy and money into mobilizing, extinguishing, and preventing wildfires, they would be doing more good to eliminate carbon than trying to eliminate fossil fuels. Good point, Ken. Thank you for that. And I hope Climate Fact Friday with Bob, I hope Bob's watching. Oh, by the way, did you see the Biden administration spent $1 million in taxpayer funds for renovating swimming pools at the U.S. Embassy and mission residents in war-torn countries such as Haiti, Sudan, and Iraq, according to a report from Senator Joni Ernst's office. The Biden State Department threw a blowout summer pool party on your dime, Ernst wrote. Bureaucrats might think wasting millions is a drop in the bucket, but I'm sick and tired of taxpayers getting tossed in the deep end by Washington. I'll continue working with the Trump administration to put a stop to the splashy spending of the Biden years. Another Hegseth aide has exited. Okay, here's a comment from a viewer. I'm super happy that Rick is out there listening to Frankly Speaking. Watching may help you with your TDS. Keep your comments coming. I don't usually agree with them, but I like to hear the opposition. I like to hear the opposing views. Yes, I enjoy Rick's comments as well. I enjoy everybody's comments. Keep them all coming in. Yes, another Hegseth aide has exited as the Pentagon churn continues, it says here. Justin Folker, who was named a senior advisor to the defense secretary in late April, sent in a text message to the Washington Post that his departure is perfectly amicable and that he planned all along to complete just 6 months of government service. He said he is grateful to Hegseth, President Trump, and to the extraordinary civilians and service members who turn vision into action every day. By the way, I'm sure you undoubtedly saw the off-duty CBP officer who was shot in the face during the robbery in New York City's park by a suspect ID'd as an illegal migrant and a career criminal who got freed after every bust, folks. Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a 21-year-old Dominican national with a lengthy rap sheet. He was let go each time he was busted despite having deportation orders. All right, one last piece. David Hansen, we're not going to have a chance to get to it, but at the New York Post today says, Trump defied the world with truth and upended the status quo. It's a really good piece if you have a chance. The people knew establishment narratives were absurd and our supposed experts were even more ridiculous. But few until now had the guts to scream the emperor is naked to dispel the fantasies. When they finally did, reality returned. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everyone who joined us. We'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. right here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I look forward to it already. Have a great day.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
J.D. Power has ranked Nissan #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands. And to celebrate, you can now get in one of these award-winning SUVs with 0% APR for 60 months. The all-new turbocharged Nissan Murano, the rugged Nissan Pathfinder, and the best-selling Nissan Rogue. Visit Nissan today and drive away in an award-winning SUV.
Now get 0% APR for 60 months on select popular models or get a low $239 per month lease on Rogue.